Before the first restoration was even complete, Rick Dale had already captured something television rarely finds: a real person doing real work, with real pride. He wasn't chasing cameras. He was a craftsman who had been fixing broken things since he was 9 years old, the day his father pulled a battered bicycle out of a dumpster and said, "Fix it." That one moment planted a seed that would eventually grow into one of the most watched shows in History Channel history. It started quietly. In 2009, Pawn Stars premiered and America fell in love with vintage collectibles all over again. Whenever the Harrison family needed something restored, they called one man, Rick Dale. His first appearance, in an episode called Time Machines, caught the attention of millions. People didn't just want to see old objects. They wanted to watch them come back to life. Network executives noticed immediately. American Restoration premiered on October 25, 2010, and it hit differently from anything else on television at the time. The show followed Rick, his wife Kelly, his son Tyler, his brother Ron, his stepson Brett Lee, and a metal polishing expert everyone called Cowboy, a man Rick jokingly described as the grumpiest person he'd ever met. Together, they turned wrecked antiques into museum-quality masterpieces. Harley-Davidsons, Coca-Cola machines, NASA helmets, vintage jukeboxes. No two episodes were the same. And that unpredictability kept people coming back. At its peak, the show pulled in 2.9 million viewers every week and aired in over 87 countries. Celebrity clients lined up: Billy Joel, Sammy Hagar, David Copperfield, Jason Mraz. One episode, Pick, Pawn, and Polish, drew 6.5 million viewers, making it the highest-rated program in History Channel history at the time. Rick Dale had gone from running a small Las Vegas shop to becoming a household name. But here's where it gets complicated. Behind the cameras, something was quietly shifting. The show was produced by Left Field Pictures, the same company behind Pawn Stars, and they had a formula. Conversations with customers were scripted. Timelines were manipulated to make deadlines feel more desperate than they were. Slowly, what had started as a genuine look at craftsmanship was being repackaged as something else entirely. Fans started noticing. Customers appeared to be filmed twice, once discussing their item, once seeing the reveal, making the staged nature of scenes obvious. Then came the moment that broke a lot of people's trust completely. Rick's brother Ron showed up on Pawn Stars pretending to be a stranger, trying to get a Coca-Cola machine restored, acting as if he had no idea who Rick was. Every viewer knew Ron worked at the shop. The whole thing was theater. And not the good kind. There was also the golf ball slot machine episode. The original item brought in by the customer was too damaged to fix properly. So producers sourced an identical machine from a company in California, shipped it to Las Vegas, and filmed it being restored, presenting it to viewers as the original. Nobody said a word about the switch. These weren't small creative liberties. They were deliberate deceptions. And they added up. As seasons progressed, producers pushed harder for family arguments, staged conflicts, and manufactured drama. The careful restoration work that originally made the show special was being crowded out by scripted tension and personal storylines. Viewers who had tuned in to watch skilled people fix beautiful old things were now watching fake fights. Professional restorers piled on, pointing out that the restorations themselves were becoming historically inaccurate. Wrong paint colors, removed original finishes, replaced parts that should have been preserved. The show was starting to look flashy rather than faithful. And Rick Dale was stuck in the middle of all of it. He had spent more than 30 years building a reputation on honest craftsmanship. Now, producers were choosing his customers, controlling his prices, and scripting his reactions. The show paid for the projects, meaning Rick wasn't even working for real clients anymore. He was performing for cameras. And it wore him down, not just professionally, but personally. What he once called his passion had slowly become what he reportedly described as a sugary, overproduced sitcom. When the American Restoration team came to him about a 7th season, Rick said no. He walked away from a show that may have been paying him well over $1 million a year.
No negotiations. No compromise.
Just a quiet, firm decision to protect what mattered most to him. And then he posted a video online to say goodbye. That video stopped people cold. He thanked his fans. He encouraged them to make their voices heard. But what no one could ignore was how he looked, exhausted, emotional, like a man who had been carrying something heavy for a very long time. At several points, he looked as though he was barely holding it together. For fans who had watched him for 6 years, it was genuinely painful to see. And what the History Channel did next? Nobody expected it. Rather than address what Rick had raised, the network moved on entirely. No public attempt to fix things.
No visible conversation.
Instead, they announced a complete reinvention of the show. 5 different restoration businesses from around the country, all introduced at once, replacing the one family that audiences had spent 6 years getting to know. Season 7 launched on January 1st, 2016. Fans were confused and hurt. The variety that had made the original series special, 1 week a slot machine, the next a gas pump, then a motorcycle, was mostly gone, replaced by cars, trucks, and more cars. The History Channel already had a vehicle restoration show called Counting Cars. American restoration had always stood apart because it wasn't that. Now it was becoming that. The bigger problem was chemistry. Or rather, the complete absence of it. Jumping between 5 different workshops every episode meant that just as you started to care about one crew, the show yanked you somewhere else. There was no center.
No emotion elamchor.
No Tyler growing up before your eyes. No cowboy grumbling about chrome polish. No Rick quietly turning a rusted piece of history into something beautiful again. The ratings made it undeniable. The magic was gone. On April 1st, 2016, just 3 months after the reboot premiered, American Restoration was cancelled. The network had believed it could rebuild the show without the one thing that made people love it. It couldn't. After the camera stopped, everyone found their own path forward. Rick and Kelly launched a cut and embroidery shop in Las Vegas called My Best Font Forward Creations. Rick wrote a book, Classic Soda Machines, which earned solid reviews. He still posts occasionally on Instagram, small fabrication projects, quiet work, but nothing like the full-scale restorations of his television years. Kelly became a licensed real estate agent. Tyler built a life around woodworking and metalwork, married an interior designer named Haley in 2022, and stayed in Las Vegas. Brett Lee turned his skills into a legitimate business, CleanWorks Mobile Media Blasting, which by many accounts is doing well. Ron quietly retreated into building custom bicycles. Cowboy disappeared from public life almost entirely. 6 seasons. Millions of fans.
Genuine kraft.
And a man who eventually looked at everything the show had become and decided his integrity was worth more than the paycheck. Rick Dale didn't fail. He just chose to stop pretending. And in the end, that choice said everything.